So here's the OnePlus Nord CE 3. Not the CE Lite or not the Nord. It's a phone that sits in between them, but closer to the Nord 3. It comes with its own perks, an 80-watt SUPERVOOC charger, a Type-C cable, a pre-applied screen protector, a really loud and blue candy color case that has that whole Nord vibe going on. Honestly, I like it. They're finally giving into the blue, but the cable is still red. And this entire thing is available for about 27,000 rupees, and I guess with bank discounts you can get this for about 25,000 rupees. And hey, if you do decide to get the phone, just spend the extra 2,000 rupees, get yourself the 12GB RAM and 256GB storage option, just future-proof yourself a little bit. Now, should you get the phone? That is the big question. Look, what are some of the other phone options that you have in this price segment? There's Galaxy F54, Poco F5, Moto Edge 40, and Realme 11 Pro Plus. There are more, but these are some of the more popular ones. Now, if you see from a pure performance benchmarks perspective, it's somewhere in the middle, not too high, but also not too low. But what about the other stuff? Let's start with the design. And like the other phones in Nord series, it looks quite same. It has a solid boxy feel, flat screen, rounded edges, and there's not much design to talk about in the front because it's mostly screen with very less bezels, and that's a good thing. But you know what I think really stands out is that blue color. It's clearly very bold, it's quite aggressive, and it has a very strong Nord flavor to it. The back is all glass and it's all glossy for the blue color. There's also a gray color which has a more metallic texture to it if that's what you're interested in. This is obviously a large device though. It's got a 6.7-inch display, it's definitely wide, and it makes a bit difficult to use the phone with just one hand, but hey, it's not heavy. And you know, it has a lot of the same design and ergonomic aesthetics as that of the Nord 3, so I really like the in-hand feel, doesn't feel cheap at all, in fact, quite premium. By the way, this isn't waterproof, it is splash resistant though. Other than that, it's got dual stereo speakers, it's got dual nano SIM tray, and it has no microSD card slot. And it has a USB 2 port for, charging and data transfers. And it also comes with an IR remote, so you can manage your remote controlled appliances with just your phone. But if there's anything to love or hate about this phone, is really just that blue color. In fact, they went to the extent of making the case so blue that it almost matches the back blue of this. So very strong Nord flavor. Now this is quite premium, it feels really good, but for some reason, it's gotten dirty pretty quickly around the edges. So just something to keep in mind, you're gonna have to clean this more often than you think. And now let's talk about the display. And like most other phones in this price segment, even this display is really good. You get 6.7 inches of AMOLED display with 120Hz adaptive refresh rate, and it is an HDR10 Plus display with a peak brightness of 950 nits. I guess the only gripe I have is that it does not support Netflix HDR right out of the box, and I did reach out to OnePlus. They said it's going to come in a future software update. So it will support Netflix HDR, but it's a matter of time. But with those dual speakers and big display, this is a great phone for streaming content or watching videos or even playing games. And speaking of games, and like many other mid-range phones, this phone is also very capable. I played Call of Duty, max graphics and max FPS, and it was a breeze. No lag, good touch response, visuals look great, and sound felt good. And the difference is really in the little things. For example, the more expensive Nord 3, it'll give you 90 FPS when you're playing, so it's smoother. And it's got a higher instant touch response rate. So when you're gaming, the response to touch is better. But yeah, other than that, you really can't tell a whole lot of difference when you're gaming on, let's say, the Nord 3 and the Nord CE 3. Also, there is a 4D haptic vibration on the Nord CE 3, and it supports Free Fire, the game, with that haptic vibration. Although it is supposed to come for other game titles, I just don't know which ones yet, but with time. And for daily use, you don't even have to think twice. Just get yourself the 12 gigs version and you're future-proof for anything that comes your way for the next 3 to 4 years that you're going to be using this phone for. Now, let's talk about software. So the Nord CE 3, just like the Nord 3, is running Oxygen OS 13 on Android 13. It's nice and clean, no unnecessary bloatware, very crisp UI. And OnePlus does guarantee you 2 years of software upgrade and 3 years of security update, which is pretty common in this price segment on other phones except Samsung, which still offers 4 years of Android upgrades and 5 years of security updates. So yeah, that's the difference, but pretty standard 2+1 update program. So, there's stuff like always on display, which of course you can go into your settings and you can customize with a couple of personalization options here. Then there's edge lighting that, you can set up for notifications, you can set up for incoming calls, and it's going to light up your display like so. There's also a smart sidebar that you can just call out from the side, and it basically hosts all your shortcuts and apps that you use very frequently, which obviously you can customize and set for yourself very easily. You can even get updates on your food delivery and ride-hailing apps, so if you see you have these apps that are supported. You can also set up your fingerprint in a way that if you long press, it gives you shortcuts or apps that you can get into, and obviously all of that is customizable. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in Oxygen OS that you could really do, and a lot of these are right here, so I'd say it's pretty feature-packed. Now, let's talk about the cameras. So, specs-wise, you get a 50 megapixel primary camera, 8 megapixel ultra-wide, and a 2 megapixel macro, along with a 16 megapixel front-facing camera. Of course, all of them without optical image stabilization, but let's get into the samples. And so here are samples that I took using the primary camera first, and overall, I really like them. I mean, the colors are pretty good, they're punchy for sure. I like the white balance that they have, and the exposure is also quite nice. Now, sure, there is a bit of aggressive sharpening that you can notice on the trees, but it's okay given the price segment. But yeah, colors are nice and punchy, and if you like that, you're gonna love it. But then, as soon as the light begins to go down and it's like a little bit of evening, you can see that the shadows become really dark. So the blacks are crushed for sure. The colors pop out a bit too much, and it looks a little artificial to me. And as it became a bit more dark, I did notice kind of a blue tone to my images, as you can see here. So yeah, even indoors, I think it did a pretty decent job. Good white balance, good exposure control, and the details are also quite good actually. And if I'm being honest, this is indeed better than what I expected. However, things take a turn when it's really low light. Like this is completely nighttime, the images are really soft, it's lost all detail, and it's not that great for sure. But I was really amazed with the portrait mode photos. I mean, the edge detection was really good, the background was very nicely blurred, and I think overall even the colors are very well maintained. Also, just because there is a macro camera, I did take 2 photos, if in case you're interested, so yeah. Now, here are some shots taken using the ultra-wide lens on the right side. Now, obviously, this is 8 megapixels, so it's not as detailed, but it's still pretty good. Obviously, it does not have the same dynamic range as the primary lens, but I'm good with it. And now, lastly, talking about the front-facing camera selfies, I don't think that the phone did a really good job. I mean, the details are not as good. The selfies do come out quite soft, especially in low light. Sometimes it's a bit magenta, as you can see here. This is probably the best selfie that I took. But yeah, overall, I think OnePlus really needs to work on the selfies in this phone. And lastly, here's a 4K video sample shot using the primary camera. Now, there is no optical image stabilization, so sure, the footage is a bit shaky, but if you do use a gimbal, I think you'll get absolutely great footage. I mean, this is pretty good quality for a phone that's in this price segment. And lastly, I do want to talk about the battery real quick. So it's got a 5000 mAh battery, which is easily going to last you the entire day all the way to the night, and you'll still be left with some battery at the end of it. Also, you do get an 80-watt SUPERVOOC charger that can charge all the way up to 100% in under 32 minutes, which is great. So guys, overall, if you ask me, I think it's a very safe phone, no-nonsense phone that you can get in this price segment. And it's not a specialty phone for any specific feature, it's just really well balanced across all aspects of a phone, and that's why I call it a safe phone to get. You really can't go wrong with it. Alright, that's it guys about the Nord CE3. If you guys have any questions, you can definitely drop them in the comment section and I'll help you guys out. And if you enjoyed watching the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification icon, and mark all. Helps the channel grow quite a lot. I'll see you guys in the next one.